Megan.
Hi, Sally.
So my name's Sally. I'm the SunSmart Manager at Cancer Council WA and also a member of the Ouch for Health Promoting Schools Committee.
And I'm Megan Sauzier. I'm the CEO from the WA School Canteen Association. I'm also a member of the Ouch for Health Promoting Schools Committee, and this is our first podcast.
And we thought we'd just give you a bit of context about our areas of expertise. We both work with schools, but potentially not directly in schools. So in terms of the work that we do in SunSmart at Cancer Council, we want to support schools to have a sun protective environment for schools so that kids and staff can turn up at school every day and know that they have sun protection measures in place. The other thing that we aim to do is to increase the education of the public to have more sun protective knowledge. And Megan's in the nutrition space.
We are. So in terms of our school support, it's all about creating a healthy a healthy food environment in schools. And that comes down to three main services for us. That's around nutrition and menu planning in the school canteen, the business operations of school canteens, food safety in school canteens, and then on a broader sense, it's about that whole school approach to healthy eating. So working with teachers, parents, principals, the leadership team to ensure that healthy eating is on the agenda everywhere in the school.
Cool. So although we both work in the same kind of agency space and we both have a long association, particularly with the health promoting schools framework, I would actually hazard a guess of maybe decades and decades of work in that space and really promoting that whole school approach to schools.
And what we wanted to do today was talk about the Health Promoting Schools framework, which has three circles that interconnect, that talk about curriculum, teaching and learning in one, school organisation, ethos and environment in another, and the third section is partnerships and services. But rather than just reiterate all the sections of the model and talk to you about all the strategies that you could implement, we thought we'd drill down into two specific topics, starting with me asking Sally some questions about what do teachers find frustrating about sun safety, sun protection when it comes to primary school kids and high school kids?
Yeah, look, I think it's having that sun protection practice as a routine. So we know that to protect your skin from future skin cancers, you have to do those 5 things, the slip, slop, slap, seek and slide. But to do that, you have to have a bit of preparation for it. So it's putting on sunscreen at the start of a PE lesson. It's making sure all the kids have got hats. It's making sure teachers are doing those things as well. So that can be a little bit tricky just to fit into, an hour or a 50-minute lesson. To get all of those things in place can take up a little bit of time. But I guess what we're seeing increasingly is that it's a bit of an expectation, particularly from parents. They sort of expect if kids are going to be outside for a phys ed lesson, that they will have that protection from the sun and from that UV radiation. And no teacher wants a kid to come out of school sunburned. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
And Sally, tell me, do you still have or do schools still endorse the no hat, no play rule?
No, and we never have really. So look, physical activity, obviously, really incredibly important. We know that physical activity does protect you against some cancers. So we want kids to be out there running around, getting as much physical activity, particularly that huff and puff activity, as they possibly can. But they need to have a hat on. So we have more of a no hat, plain the shade approach. But even better still, making sure that kids do have hats on when they're outside playing. We certainly don't want kids benched for not having a hat. To be honest, I would have been one of those kids in school who would have forgotten my hat to get out of PE. I was the kind of kid who needed that physical activity. So it's really encouraging physical activity in all kids and not excluding them because they don't have a hat.
Yeah. And my son is only 3, so he's not at school yet. But even in our house, we have caps, we have bucket hats, we have broad brim hats. What do you recommend?
So, look, we know that most skin cancers happen around the face. So having a hat that protects the sides of the face, the neck, the ears, so a brimmed hat is definitely the best choice. We know that particularly for PE teachers that caps, do feature a little bit. But it's important to note as well with PE teachers particularly that their personal risk of skin cancer is really high, that occupational risk, they're being exposed to a lot of UV. So for teachers, absolutely brimmed hats, and kids as well, having a brimmed hat on at all times. However, acknowledging sometimes in PE, you do need to take those hats off to compete. And similarly with swimming carnivals, you might have a carnival where it's quite competitive. Kids are at quite a high level. If they're not wearing rashes, fine. But if for the rest of the day, then it's covering up and protecting their skin. So it needs to be a sensible sun protection while still encouraging physical activity.
And talking about the Health Promoting Schools model and looking at all of the things you've just spoken about. So you've spoken about teaching kids, so teaching and curriculum and that sort of thing. But what about PNCs? How could we work with the PNCs in schools?
So we've found that PNCs, or those parent bodies, are really supportive of sun protection in schools. So they're the ones who often dictate what the uniform is for starters. And they often are very happy to provide sunscreen for the school and certainly for the PE teachers. And basically, if you don't ask, then it's a no. But we would really encourage teachers to go to the PNC, state your case about why this is important, and PNCs will often come to the party.
And fund sun cream for classrooms.
Absolutely. And also that little pot that is going around to those PE lessons as well.
Excellent. And one last question. Do you have a resource or a template or something around a SunSmart policy?
Yes, we sure do. And nationally as well. So nationally, there is the SunSmart Schools program, a lot more for primary schools. There's a whole bunch of resources and templates there, but also with high schools as well. We acknowledge that high schools are starting from a bit of probably a lower base. And it's just getting high schools to do a little bit more to improve sun protection at that school. They might not be at the stage where they can have a full-blown policy, but even things like teachers wearing hats, having sunscreen at carnivals, and really role modelling those behaviours plays a massive part. And until you kind of get those things in place, a policy will often flow from that anyway. But first of all, protect yourself, and then the rest does flow on.
Excellent. Great tips.
So in terms of nutrition, we spoke a little bit about a whole school approach. And so similar sort of viewpoint for nutrition?
Definitely. So whole school approach generally means that there's a policy about the sorts of food and drinks that your school will and won't supply through the school canteen or at school events. But beyond the policy, certainly from a classroom perspective, and what teachers are telling us is they get frustrated with, and talking about sports carnivals as well with Sally, we often see snakes, so the lolly snakes come out or sports drinks come out at that time. So teachers are saying to us, what do we do? Because the kids don't need those, that sugar fix at that time. So we have, like Sally, we have policies and fact sheets and things on our website, but it is about setting up expectations early. So talking to the kids in the classroom curriculum about what's in a sports drink, why do they think they need it, and actually giving them the evidence and the science around all we need is water. Water is actually also free. So all schools from an environmental and facilities perspective have water fountains. So filling up a water bottle is a far better choice than buying a sports drink and getting that sugar fix without much else from a nutrition point of view. And then lollies, there's really no place for lollies. Lollies are an absolute treat thing. They're a discretionary item. There's no nutrition in them. That's not what they need at the sports carnival. They need to be fueling up with healthy food and drinks. So having a really good lunch and morning tea, lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, sandwiches, rolls, wraps, and lots of water so that they stay hydrated.
And sometimes in schools, those days are big, they're exciting. There's a lot of build up to them. And it's almost like they become a bit of they're certainly out of routine. And that means that sometimes kids are more likely to seek out treats on that day. But it sounds like what you're saying is like keep that consistency. In terms of sports performance, they don't need that food, particularly when they're quite young and even as older people. So just keeping consistency, but also role modelling and kids understanding that school space is a healthy space as well, those healthy behaviours are encouraged.
Absolutely. And certainly in a high school, you want to talk about performance. So we want all kids to do the best that they can on that day. And what's going to help them do that is fueling up with those healthy food and drinks all day long, not having lollies and thinking that that's going to actually improve their performance when it won't. Also with the sports drinks, unless you're an endurance athlete, which means you're doing constant physical activity for multiple hours at a time, you don't need a sports drink.
No.
And so
They're expensive.
yes, and our teachers really need to role model that as well. So we want to see you eating healthy food and drinks and having lots of water and those sustainable choices as well. So if you're bringing in sports drinks or other commercial drinks like that, then you're creating waste and you're adding to the waste and not focusing on sustainability. So lots of our schools focus on sustainability and recyclable things. So filling up a reusable water bottle is the best choice.
Cool. So if you're a phys ed and that might be the culture in your school, though, there is the lollies at the carnival and the sports drinks. What's one small thing that you could do as a health advocate or as a phys ed to even make a small change in that space?
Sure. So even what Sally was talking about, we talk to your PNC, talk to your parent group. They're the ones who are going to help to advocate for what we expect for healthy food and drinks at all times in the school, including those events. Get some communication out through the school newsletter on Facebook about how to appropriately fuel up for the day and give those sorts of suggestions. And there's a bunch of resources on our website and also on the Fuel to Go and Play website that can talk about what you could have. So giving people solutions, not just saying these things we don't want at our sports carnival, but what are you going to bring?
Beautiful. And I guess to wrap up as well, we know that this can be a lot of time, but also headspace to make that change in schools. And I guess the final bit of advice from me is reach out to agencies like the Cancer Council, like the Canteen Association in your state or territory, because we often have the evidence behind why these things should happen. And a lot of materials are already prepared and ready to go. And there are so many agencies out there who are really waiting and it's their job to support schools in this way. So please contact them. It's incredible how many are out there just waiting for that support.
And also, if you're already doing these things and you're already doing a great job, let us help you celebrate that. So we have a range of ways that we can promote case studies. They could be a simple paragraph that goes onto social media, or it could be a video that we come out and do some filming, depending on what you're doing. So keep in touch with us. That's certainly from a WA perspective, but there are other agencies in other states and territories that we can connect you with as well.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks, Megan. Great to have the chat.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.